Welcome back to the Algabot channel, where we break down automated trading strategies for MetaTrader 5, one expert advisor at a time. I'm Algabot, and today we're exploring a trend-following strategy called Alligator Mouth Awakening. It's built on Bill Williams' well-known Alligator indicator, but instead of trading it as a simple crossover, this expert advisor treats the market as a state machine that shifts between sleeping and awakening. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the three alligator lines work together when the strategy chooses to stand aside and when it looks to join a trend. Let's dive in. So what exactly does Alligator Mouth Awakening do? At its heart, this is a trend-following expert advisor. It doesn't try to catch every wiggle in the market. Instead, it waits patiently for a trend to wake up, and only then does it look to join the move. The engine behind it is Bill Williams' Alligator indicator, which is made up of three smooth moving averages. Each one is calculated on the median price. That's simply the high plus the low divided by 2, and each line is pushed forward in time, or displaced, by a set number of bars. The slowest line is called the jaw, using a period of 13 and shifted 8 bars forward. The medium line is the teeth, with a period of 8, shifted 5 bars. And the fastest line is the lips, with a period of 5, shifted 3 bars. Bill Williams gave these lines animal names because he pictured the market as a sleeping alligator. When the three lines are tangled together, the alligator is asleep, the market is coiling, and there's no clear edge. When the lines fan out and spread apart in order, the alligator wakes up with its mouth open, and that's the trend the strategy wants to identify. To measure how far the mouth has opened, the expert advisor uses the average true range, or ATR, a common gauge of volatility. This lets the strategy adapt to whatever instrument and time frame you run it on, whether that's a currency pair, an index, or a commodity. Because it stands aside during quiet, choppy conditions, this approach may appeal to traders who prefer selective, trend-focused entries over constant activity. Remember, this is educational information only, not financial advice. And like all trading strategies, it carries real risk and will produce losing trades. Let's walk through the exact logic step by step. The strategy only acts on a fully closed bar, so it never repaints or reacts to an unfinished candle. On each new closed bar, it updates the three alligator lines and calculates the current ATR value. First, it checks the order of the lines. For an uptrend, the lips must be above the teeth, and the teeth must be above the jaw. In other words, the fastest line sits on top, and the slowest line sits on the bottom. For a downtrend, it's the mirror image, the lips below the teeth, and the teeth below the jaw. But order alone isn't enough. The strategy also measures the gap between the lips and the jaw, which represents how wide the mouth has opened. That gap has to be larger than the separation ATR multiple, which defaults to 0.5, multiplied by the current ATR. This makes sure the mouth has opened by a meaningful, volatility-adjusted amount, and not just a tiny flicker. The key word here is awakening. The strategy detects the exact bar where the mouth opens. That means the mouth is open on this bar, but it was not open on the previous bar. This edge detection is what separates a genuine awakening from a trend that's already been running. For a long entry, 3 things must line up on the same closed bar. The up mouth opens fresh this bar, the gap exceeds the ATR threshold, and the closing price is above the lips line. A short entry is the exact mirror, a fresh down mouth, a wide enough gap, and a close below the lips line. Now for exits. Once a position is open, the strategy watches the mouth. If the lines re-entangle, or the gap shrinks below the exit separation ATR multiple, which defaults to 0.2, the strategy treats the alligator as sated, the trend is finished, and it closes the trade. It will also close and step aside if the opposite mouth suddenly opens, which signals a hard reversal. On top of that, every single trade is protected. When a position opens, the expert advisor sets a stop loss at 2 times ATR away from entry and a take profit at 3 times ATR. That's a reward-to-risk ratio of 3-to-2, defined entirely by volatility. And importantly, the strategy holds only one position at a time, staying disciplined rather than stacking trades. Let's look at the actual MQL5 code running inside the expert advisor, as you'd see it in Meta Editor. At the top are the input parameters, the settings you can adjust before running the strategy. LipsPeriod, TeethPeriod, and JawPeriod default to 5, 8, and 13, controlling the three smoothed moving averages. The separation ATR multiple at 0.5 defines how wide the mouth must open to count as an awakening. The ATR stop-loss multiple is 2, the ATR take-profit multiple is 3, and lots is set to 0.1 for the trade size. Below that, you can see how the entry decisions are made. The long signal, called long sig, is true when a wake-up is true, a wake-up prev is false, and the close is above the lips line. That's the code confirming the up mouth opened fresh on this bar, and that price agreed by closing above the fastest line. The short signal, short sig, is the exact mirror. A wake down is true, a wake down prev is false, and the close is below the lips line. When the long signal is met, the code reads the current ask price, then sets the stop loss at ask minus the ATR stop multiple times ATR, and the take profit at ask plus the ATR take profit multiple times ATR. It then calls trade.buy with those levels. When the short signal is met instead, it reads the bid price, places the stop loss above entry and the take profit below, and calls trade.sell. Notice how both sides are perfectly symmetrical, the same logic simply mirrored for longs and shorts, with every trade protected by an ATR-based stop and target from the moment it opens. Now let's bring this to life on a chart. On screen, you can see a candlestick sequence with the three alligator lines drawn right on top of the price. The green line is the lips, the fastest. The red line is the teeth, in the middle, and the blue line is the jaw, the slowest. Watch how they behave. Look at the first several candles on the left. Price is drifting sideways in a tight range. And notice how the three lines are braided together, weaving back and forth over one another. This is the sleeping alligator. The mouth is closed. There's no clear order to the lines, and the strategy simply stands aside. There is no edge here, so it waits. Now watch what happens as we reach the fifth candle. Price pushes up with a strong candle that closes near its high. At the same moment, the three lines begin to separate. The green lips line pulls up and away, climbing above the red teeth, while the teeth rise above the blue jaw. For the first time, we have clean order, lips on top, teeth in the middle, jaw on the bottom. And critically, the gap between the lips and the jaw has now opened wider than the ATR threshold. This is the awakening. Because the mouth was closed on the previous bar and opens fresh right here, and because price closed above the lips line, the strategy signals along. You can see the buy entry marker printed on that candle. From there, follow the next few candles higher. Each one makes a higher high and a higher close, and the three lines fan out even further, staying in perfect order with the green lips leading the way. This is exactly the kind of clean, trending move the strategy is designed to join. Price climbs upward until it reaches the take profit target, which was set at 3 times ATR above the entry. You can see the take profit marker where the long trade closes for a gain in this illustration. Now watch the character of the market change. After that push, price stalls and rolls over near the top. Notice how the three lines start pulling back toward one another, converging and losing their clean order. The mouth is closing. The alligator is sated, and the trend has run its course. Even if we were still in the trade, this re-entangling of the lines is the condition that tells the strategy to step aside. Then the mirror image sets up. As price turns down, the lines begin to fan out again, but this time in the opposite order. The green lips line drops below the red teeth, and the teeth fall below the blue jaw. Now the fastest line is on the bottom and the slowest is on top. Once that downward mouth opens wider than the ATR threshold and price closes below the lips line, the strategy signals a short. You can see the sell entry marker on that candle. From there, price works its way lower, candle by candle, with the lines staying fanned out in downward order. This is a clean downward trend, and the strategy rides it toward its target. The take profit for a short sits 3 times ATR below the entry, and you can see the take profit marker where the short trade closes in this example. So in a single chart, we've seen the complete cycle. The sleeping phase where the lines are tangled and the strategy waits, the upward awakening that opens along, the mouth closing that ends the move, and then the downward awakening that opens a short. Notice that in both directions the logic was identical, just mirrored. The strategy is patient during the quiet stretches, and that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the alligator mouth awakening expert advisor. Today we covered how Bill Williams' Alligator indicator forms three displaced, smooth moving averages, how the strategy reads them as a sleeping and awakening state machine, the exact conditions for both long and short entries, how the mouth closing manages the exit, and how ATR sets the stop loss and take profit on every trade. Remember, everything in this video is educational information only, and nothing here is financial advice or a recommendation to trade. All trading involves real risk, and losses are a normal part of the process. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like the video, subscribe for more MT5 strategy analyses, and leave a comment telling us which strategy to explore next. You can find more at www.algobot.live. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Trade responsibly.